This window in Gloomwood explains the lore to all New Blood games. Alright, now that I got the attention bait intro out of the way, it's important I explain what Gloomwood even is to those who aren't in the know. So in 2014, when ALS made everyone dump freezing water on themselves, Dave Oshry, Aaron Alexander, and Craig DeZago, I don't know if I said that right, decided to make a video game publisher. They started off by publishing Super Galaxy Squadron in 2015, and clearly they had no idea what to do for the next 2 years because they just remade the game twice and added EX Turbo onto the name. We won't be talking about that game today. I know everyone wanted to. I'm sorry. Anyway, Dave met David, and David made Dusk. Right before its release in 2018, Dylan Rogers joined New Blood and helped David finish it, and together started working on the game we now know as Gloomwood in 2020. David also made a somewhat short horror game titled Iron Lung. Markiplier saw it, played it, loved it, and made an entire movie on it with David. Ultra Kill started somewhere in there, I don't know, I'm too lazy to find out right now. It's famous, you know it. And now here is Little Punk, who just bought Gloomwood on Steam's 365th sale of the year, and I died over and over at Crippled Gabriel. Went to refund it, but I realized I sunk 30 hours in it. Most people don't really talk about the story because the game is still in development. Yes, I know it's been 6 years, but you can't rush greatness. Trust me, I tried. But recently, a new update has explained everything, and it's been hidden in plain sight this entire time because an important new page has been opened up to the public called On the Nature of the Four Flames. Now, people definitely know where I'm going with this. In the note, it explains how the observatory, which the note is found in, has been studying the lands for a very long time, and they figured out that there's a deeper meaning behind fire, not just being given to us by Prometheus or nature, but a more sinister reasoning for why it exists. All you really need to understand from this note is there are 4 different types of flames that we know of. Natural fire, represented by the orange hues that burn our world. Ethereal fire, represented by the blue hues that eternally burn interdimensionally. Like in the mirror world, you can fast travel through in the game. It is important to note that traveling through these mirrors is likely instantaneous. You see yourself walking through this magical world, but in the material world, you kind of just appear. That is because the ethereal realm has no correlation with time and it's eternal. Some sort of magic bullshit David probably pulled out of his ass hairs. The next flame is the sanguine flame, represented by red hues. This flame is fueled by sanity and blood, and this is going to be very important. The chaos fire, which at this point if you play the game should be pretty obvious. It's green, mean, and Grezzo is Nyarlathotep from Dusk. Just kidding, kinda. It's not revealed yet what Grezzo is to the Chaos God in Dusk, which his name is a little difficult to pronounce, so we'll just be calling him Netanyahu from now on. But it is clear he is a high embodiment or vessel of Netanyahu, because he not only can use magic as well, but has modeled his entire fucking shop around the color green. New Blood knows no subtlety. Now the name Emerald Eye doesn't seem like it matters, which it kinda doesn't, but I'll talk about it more later. And if you weren't convinced, they also had the same guy who voiced Netanyahu in Dusk voice Grezzo. Remember New Blood and subtlety. If you still aren't convinced, the statue in the mirror world is a horror from Dusk. If you still aren't convinced, you're a stubborn bastard, but here's a screenshot of founder Dave telling someone all New Blood games are connected. For some reason, nobody talks about this, even though it's literally stated and apparently common knowledge. But I want to go into some details here. When I say New Blood games, I don't mean everything they published. Only the games they actually played a part in making, like Gloomwood, Dusk, and Faith. I'm probably missing one more, but now that's out of the way. You literally can't refute the similarities and hopefully are as skeptical as I am, but more questions are added. Who is the vessel for the red flame, the blue flame, and the orange flame? Well, only 2 options really show up. 2 very important characters in Gloomwood. The person who involves you with the ethereal realm introduces you to magic and is covering her face because she's probably old as shit, the Countess. She is introduced in a mirror. Can't really get much more blatant, to be honest. And the orange flame? The one with the burning will of fire, whose wardrobe consists entirely of orange and is super crucial to the lore, is you. Well, probably. You have a subtle orange ring. That leaves more questions once again. Who is the red flame's vessel? Who are the gods in charge of the ethereal flame, natural flame, and sanguine flame? Well, we've already met one god, and his powers were capable of brainwashing armies of humans. But something we haven't really talked about yet is why. Why is all of this happening? What are the gods' plans? Why hasn't Gloomwood been finished yet? Well, these are all good questions, but in order to find out the answer, we have to do some digging. What do we know of Netanyahu, and why did he do what he did in Dusk? Well, if you look up at the official Wikipedia on Netanyahu, no, not that Netanyahu, but the Netanyahu in Dusk, then the answer becomes obvious. If you go under Hightown, there's this disgusting event happening where what seems to be flesh blobs feasting on a humanoid corpse. Around it, we can see red flames. That's right, red flames. In order for our theory to work, we have to not only keep in mind the New Blood games, but David Szymanski's work in general. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, David. With that in mind, only one thing becomes clear. What monster in a game created by David is made of human skulls? What game was created after Gloomwood's production that revolved entirely around human blood? What cosmic horror movie came out recently that David helped create based off of his game? What movie did the main character interact with a red god? That's right, Ultra Iron Lung. Why did Netanyahu want to brainwash all life on Earth? That is because his goal was the quiet rapture, which it succeeded in creating, by the way. This sea of human blood was put on the moon after the quiet rapture. That sea of human blood was made by the people of Gloomwood, by the people of Dusk, and the people of Faith. That god that Simon talks to in the movie, it was the Sanguine God. Yes, I know. Every now and then you can find an important corpse of nobles in Gloomwood. Almost every time they have a rare sellable gem in the place of their eyes, literally called bloodstones. Weirdly enough, though, these deaths seem to have something to do with the Countess. We might not have met the Ethereal Flames vessel as the Countess, but the Sanguine Flames vessel. Vandermeer, a noble who was communicating with the Countess in order to find the seal of the Underport in order to get to the hive, was found dead in front of a mirror. The same mirror that he used to communicate with the Countess. Again, that leads to another question. Why would she want the seal in order to find the hive? Because in the hive, mummified corpses can be found, some with bloodstones attached. Maybe, in order to live eternally like the blue flame, she needs these corpses to consume in order to live longer. Just like the flesh blobs, who are confirmed to be nobles under Hightown, which she also was communicating with. Basically, everyone is fucking evil, and capitalism supports the consumers of life once again. In the Iron Lung movie, the lady on the speaker talks about how it shouldn't be possible, but the ocean of blood is human, and that they can synthesize food from it. This is another mention of humans being consumed outside of Gloomwood. David Szymanski, again, sorry if I pronounced it wrong, Dylan Rogers, and the founders of New Blood have built up 8 painstaking years of amazing mystery, and all of it was destroyed by me. You're welcome. Now that leaves some questions still, like every answer in Gloomwood does. Why is there a plague that causes all of the humans to turn into mutated animals? Why did Grezzo burn the carriage meant to take you to the Countess? Why do the huntsmen want to kill you when the Countess wants to see you? And importantly, why has Grezzo not killed you if he's evil? To answer all of that, I have no goddamn clue. Well, I have a few. Grezzo hasn't killed you because you're a vessel for Netanyahu to cause the quiet rapture, just like the Dusk dude in Dusk. As we know, it happens anyway, but my guess would be the Doctor is smart enough and strong enough, or lucky enough, to not get used at the end of the game. Or he is the Orange Flame's vessel. If the Orange God does exist, he clearly picked his favorite, and it only makes sense to protect the Doctor if he is your vessel. Maybe he is strong enough to hold back the evil at play, so strong in fact, Grezzo and the Countess are scared of him and want to be on your good side. That'd still leave the Ethereal God, which my best guess would be doesn't give a shit about all of this and is so unaffected that he's just chilling eternally in his dimension. Which leads to another answer. Maybe the lady who was killed in the observatory, Lady Glasswell, saw something in her telescope that the Countess or the Sanguine God didn't want her to see, and they killed her because they knew she'd write about it, revealing it all to the Doctor, who they needed to be blind and manipulated in order to get to what they want. In her last words, it is said, "The stars lied to us." This can mean a number of things. The stars are all created by the Orange God in order to keep away the other gods who are looking inward from the outside the galaxy and keep the worlds he created or values safe from the other gods looking in. The light in the Iron Lung movie that Simon comes in contact with is the pinhole which the gods see through from outside, and Glasswell saw this light, which is why she had to die. Which means the stars are a lie. For the other question, the Huntsmen are mercenaries who hunt monsters and do the Countess' bidding. But Grezzo is affecting them in some way, making them more insane with Netanyahu's brainwashing abilities, causing them to not only attack you to confuse you on whether the Countess is against you, but also be really violent. There's a note in the game, I can't really find where, but it is from a huntsman, and it talks about how he and his buddies were hunting a boar, and when they got to the killing blow, his buddy went insane and kept on slicing it with his axe until it was no more, but a paste. Afterwards, he asked him why he did that, and all he could say was, "I don't remember what happened." In the Old Kingdom, only New Blood really knows what's going on with that, because I don't. The Bloodstones in the place of the eyes of the interest does ring a familiar bell. But, yeah. It's all to them. My best guess, though, would be it's probably just them trying to get more mummies to eat, more blood, more flesh, you know. Or maybe it was another game that their humanity and their civilization fell, and Gloomwood's the future, and it was again. Everything here is just a theory, but that was pretty much all of everything. I'm glad I finally got it all out. I was sort of in a rush to make this because I didn't want anyone else to realize and release a video while I was doing it. But now that it's over, I'm gonna fuck off. Thanks for watching. Let me know any plot holes in the comments, or don't. I'd prefer that I was right.